Hey, everybody, and welcome. This is Bob. Today, I'm talking to Jeff Revilla. No, Revilla.
Hey,
We just had this whole conversation about his name, and then now I'm being a goofball again. So, Revilla. So Jeff is from Podduty.com, and actually, I've had the pleasure of being on Jeff's show a couple of times, different shows, right? So one was one was a trivia show, and the
I'll
other
let you go.
I'm pulling out of my head here, Jeff.
You've been guest on two shows I produced. One is the trivia show called Stuff I Never Knew.
Stuff I never.
That's
Okay.
a trivia game show podcast where players from around the world call in and battle it out. That show also airs on local television, which is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I get to have somebody else edit and produce it, which I love. That's my favorite part of podcasting is when other people do the work.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other one was, what's the other one? The other one was like Name That Tune or something.
Yeah, it was the Gong Show. I don't know if you remember.
Oh,
that.
I love the Gong Show. Yeah. I think we got Gong.
That's actually not far off. I'm just joking, but it is called Rise and Outshine. And it's a podcast showcase where two podcasts come on and they do a little bit of their show, just like the Gong Show, and then we give them feedback in real time. We don't ever kick anybody off the stage, and there's no masked comic or unknown comic or anything like that. But we'll have a good time and give really good feedback, especially to new and up and comer podcasts.
Yeah. See, I wish I should have made a little more notes for myself here, Jeff. I'm sorry. It's been a while since we were on at least one of those, I think. So.
Yeah, I've been missing in action for about 2.5, 3 months.
Yeah. So, but I figured it was time for me to talk to Jeff and do my little bit, which is a conversation with, and here we go. I'll put the little thing up there. A conversation with
this guy,
with Jeff Revilla. So what brought you to all this? I mean, you got this picture behind you, which we'll get to, which is your live events space that you've been working on for a while. But what got you, first of all, into the kind of virtual world to even doing these podcasts?
Yeah, it was my first podcast was 2011. Wasn't anything as special. It was really about 2015 where I thought I would do this show, the Stuff I Never Knew trivia show. But it was actually loosely based on another podcast called Good Job Brain. And Good Job Brain does these like themed like trivia storytelling. It's a very unique concept where 4 people come on the show and they have a topic and they each present like their version of the topic. It could be like a quiz or a game, or it could just be a story about, what that topic meant to them. So the original concept for Stuff I Never Knew was like stuff I never knew about apples, or stuff I never knew about farmers or cars or sports. So it's supposed to be a themed episode. If you look at the original couple episodes, they were all themed, which I also thought that I could have 3 people come over to my house and we would do this. But it turns out when you're like 40 years old, you don't have 3 or 4 friends to come over every week on a regular schedule.
Everybody gets busy.
Yeah. They're doing kids and babies, and they're having all this college
basketball games and whatnot.
Yeah. So I ended up turning into a trivia show, and I just themed every episode. And what really got me hooked on live streaming and this virtual world was a platform called Blab. And I went all in on Blab in 2015, and it was such a great platform. It's a very social video platform where within a minute you could have 30 to 60 people rush your live stream. And I was like, wow, there's something special here. And Blab was one of the first 4 in the box. You always see like the 4 in the box streaming.
Right.
And Blab was doing that in 2015 and very successfully. And
what happened to Blab? I didn't even know about Blab. How did I miss this?
I think it got overrun to a point where they just couldn't keep up with capacity. They didn't have a business model either. And I believe what happened is they grew so fast and they didn't know how to pay for anything. And eventually they shut it down. But it was blab.im, and you could even like leave little comments. and make things appear on the screen. Like you could like slash let it snow would
Mm-hmm.
actually make snow fall during the
Oh,
the
what?
live stream. So if you look up Blab commands, there was a lot of fun things you could do.
That's wild.
And
I am surprised I missed out on that because I'm usually paying closer attention, I thought, but apparently not for that one.
if you ever meet a fellow blabber, like that's all they talk about. It's like somehow this little 2 year platform
Mm-hmm.
like really changed all of our lives. And like there was another part of Blab called props, which what you see now when you see like people giving likes during a live stream, the
Mm-hmm.
little icon pops up.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
props would do that. Like it was insane the amount of props that would just be people just watching a show like clicking, pop, 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 pop,
Yeah.
and it was crazy.
That's wild. Yeah, I missed out on all that. I feel because I feel like if that would have come out, say, just a little like 2019 or 2020, early 2020, they probably would have like went over the top because of the pandemic and everything. But because they were a little too early, they lost out, unfortunately.
Yeah. Again, it's one of these like heartfelt things from the internet. Like it was a very special time, but it showed a lot of us the potential of when you're not limited by an algorithm, when the actual content speaks for itself, then you can produce something of value that people will share and gravitate towards.
Yeah, there's rumors on the I guess there's been some news stories that say that they're going to try to promote original content more on X and on YouTube and so forth, but I think it's kind of lip service, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they still go to where the eyeballs have volume, and the volume can sell ads. That's
exactly. Yeah, no, I think it's still going to be, unfortunately, not that. Because like myself, you have been producing original content now for quite some time, and obviously in the Blab days. But then now you're doing more, though, I'd say, than that. So obviously Blab seems to be one of those high points. Whenever Blab collapsed, what kept you going? I mean, it seems like that was really, you have fond memories of that, and when that goes away, a lot of times then people just stop. So why didn't you stop?
Yeah, well, I struggled. I floated around. There's probably a 2 or 3 year window where you'll see like the live streams of all of our shows look different. Like we were using Appear and Hop In, and I think Believe was one, and there was all kinds of other platforms we were trying to use to make the live stream work, and you could never recreate what Blab gave you. And Blab gave you that social element in real time, like boom, here's a bunch of people that want to see what you're looking at.
Yeah.
And nothing else worked. YouTube Live, Google Hangouts, like we tried everything to keep the show going, and eventually, just like you, we landed on StreamYard, a great easy platform. You can plug in and you're ready to go, and you can connect all these people all in real time. It's really a platform that's keeping a lot of podcasters who love live streaming, whether or not they're getting the attention of the algorithm while they're live. They love StreamYard. It's a reliable platform for putting this all together.
Yeah, no, it is. And I just happened to stumble upon it myself. I think I happened upon it because I guessed it on somebody's show when they were using it. And I thought, wow, this is really, kind of plug and play. There's not too much that people have to do on the other end, especially, technically. And as long as you have a camera and stuff, you should be good to go. And you don't have to, you don't have to have an account necessarily to be a guest. And so I thought that was a big positive, because so many times they force you to get accounts that you'll use once or twice, So StreamYard is a good platform. I hope that they continue. We'll see what happens. I think their timing's a little bit better maybe than Blab, but I think the thing that StreamYard needs now is a little more on the community side. So it sounds like Blab, from what you're telling me, is the one that had the the community aspect to it, and StreamYard's more of a tool than a community at this point,
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. It's solid, and exactly what you said, the ease of use where your guests can just click a link and they're in the podcast. They don't need special equipment. All they basically need is a quiet place and internet connection, and they can podcast from anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And that simplicity is what makes StreamYard so powerful. And that's what Blab had with the community element. You click a link, you're in the show. There was actually seats. Actually, now I go back to it, there would actually be 4 seats on the screen, and you would click a seat, like I want to sit there, and then you would join into the program if the host allowed you.
Right.
So you could actually interact. You could pull people up on stage at any time, kind of like Clubhouse does that now with audio. But Blab was doing that with video in 2015.
That's cool. Now, Miles and I on our show have been doing a thing called Plausible, and I think I sent that to you. But it's more for comedians, right? So it's a comedy site where they have tools, kind of like StreamYard, but lesser tools, but in order to kind of facilitate comedy programming. And so it's interesting because it sounds like things are skewing towards having these different platforms for different purposes. And so maybe that's where things are going, to where you're going to have platforms that then are niche, right? So plausible comedy, maybe another one will be, trivia, maybe another one will be something else. And so then you'll build the audience that way on topic rather than building the audience as just streaming.
Yeah. It's going to niche down, and there'll be lots of different ways to get your content out there. There won't just be the big 3. You can't just do a Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Twitch. Those are they've kind of tied up the market with what that is.
Well, Twitch though was the video game thing, and I know everybody uses it for other things besides video games, but that was their niche. Their niche was live streaming video game playing, and then it seems to have branched out from there. But I'm not active on Twitch at all because it wasn't my thing. I actually tried when my son was younger. I hooked him all up to do that, to stream his games on Twitch, and I don't think he did it for a little while, and then he quit. But that was my big interaction, was basically getting somebody set up so they could do it, and then then I was out.
That's it.
But so. Why? So for instance, this show is just having a conversation with somebody, and then I do a show with my co-host Miles Title, which is more comedy stuff. It's goofiness, but for you're wanting to do these things that really are a little more selfless, I would say. I think of Miles and I's show as very selfish because we talk about ourselves, we're making fun of each other. It's a very selfish show, but your shows are very selfless in the sense that you do a lot of work to have other people have fun. And so what drew you to that aspect of things? Because most people are on the selfish side, like myself, rather than the selfless side.
Yeah, I've found out, as much as I do like hosting, I love producing. Like, I love taking an idea from nothing and then starting to piece it together. How can we make this work? How can we make this function? And then putting it together into a live show. I've produced events for other people, multi-day events, 4-day, 5-day events at times, live streams. I've done 12 hours with International Podcast Day. Like, I like being behind the scenes. Like, I love putting the pieces together, moving this to here to get this to fit in at that time slot, and how do we produce a show that's never been done virtually before? Like the trivia show that you see, I'm booking 3 guests from around the world. Then I'm writing the questions. Then there's a video round. I got to produce a video round. So like all these little pieces I had to figure out how to fit them together to come out with a production that somebody might actually watch. And whether or not they do, I can't control that part. But
that's where we need the next person is the person who's all they want to do is market.
I need. Yeah, that's the part I need a lot of help with.
Yeah. That's interesting. So, were you doing this prior to podcasting? Were you kind of, the puzzle piece guy, putting it all together in your life prior to having this as an outlet?
Yeah, I think so. Like from the year 2000, I owned a skate shop and an email mail order company for skateboards and a skate park. I did that for 7 or 8 years, and that was a 12-hour a day job, figuring out how do I get boxes to Gurnee, Illinois, and shipping skateboards in New York and fulfilling all these orders. So all the way back then, I was doing things like that, and I built a message board for skateboarding. I had a video channel for skateboarding back in 2005, 2006, 2007. I was doing these little things in the media space, and it wasn't until I got into podcasting and the production that I like, this is what I love to do. Like, I love putting this all together and almost like putting on a performance for people, making sure they're having a good time and they share the event, they want to talk about it, and they want to come back.
That's cool. So skateboarding, was this something that came from your youth then? Were you a skateboarder and that's why you're like, hey, I think I should do that?
Yeah. I was in 8th grade. I wrote a paper about how I was going to open a skate shop and skate park when I grow up.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was about 25, I was able to do that. And but I was skateboarding since I was 12 years old, all day, every day, 12 hours a day. And I'm 48 in June. And still to this day, not a day goes by I don't think about skateboarding. I'll even like do things like I'll be like walking past something and I'll just like skate, like I'll just do things all the time. And I'm just thinking about skateboarding all the time, like more than anything else. I think it's so, and I haven't been on a skateboard in 10 years and I think about it every day.
That's because I was never, for me, skateboarding was kind of an interesting thing, but I never was a skateboarder or anything like that. That was not a thing. I mean, I had some over the years, various times. I hurt myself pretty good a couple of times when I was younger on them and so forth because I did not take safety equipment as a rule, which probably was a bad idea. And so forth. But that's interesting. So I guess maybe that was probably something that as you grew up, it caught your, eye and you're like, this is what I like to do. That's interesting.
Yeah. From the first time I probably stepped on a skateboard, I grew up in like a new housing, not a housing plan. It was like a townhouses, like row houses. I don't know what everybody calls them around the country, but within this group, I had like 6 friends and we all started skateboarding. Just all we were building, there'd be ramps in the streets and the cul-de-sacs and people's driveways. We had rails and everything everywhere. And that was our summers. Like we would just skate from sunrise to sunset and then do it again the next day.
That's interesting. So you really have had the entrepreneurial spirit since you were a kid to do the skateboarding and so forth. And so I guess, has there been anything since the skateboard before Paduti that you've been involved in with your entrepreneurial ideas?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely attracted to like DIY and counterculture. As right around 2014, I got into disc golf a lot. Mm-hmm. I have a disc golf channel I co-produce with a friend. It's called Disc Golf Examiner. Through that channel, we've covered major tours, like major tournaments that have come through the Pittsburgh area. A lot of local competitions, the tournaments. We've done the videos for a lot of those ones. So he got really into the video production and really ran with that. But we started out again as that was a podcast before the trivia show. I was doing a disc golf podcast, and we did like 20 episodes and interviewed some of the greats. It was pretty incredible.
Wow. Well, tell me who the greats are because I'm not as familiar with disc golf as you are, obviously.
We had Eric McCabe and Cool Daddy Slick Breeze was a guy that was out of the Dynamic Disc Camp. We interviewed the founder of Disc Golf World. I'm trying to think. He was a major champion. Same with J. Gary Dropko. He was the first, I think, junior world champion. He's an early member of the PDGA. They call it the PDGA. But yeah, we had some great friends. And even we even collabed with some other disc golf podcasts back then too.
Wow. Again, that's another one of those things that I am familiar with, and I have played a little bit over the years, but never. It was never one of those things like, oh, I got to play disc golf, and we had courses and so forth around. I'm in the St. Louis area, so. Mm-hmm. In St. Louis and the Midwest as well, which is interesting. And that I guess again, these are I don't want to use this as a negative, but these are kind of fringy kind of things, right?
Yeah.
Because
that's where my heart lies.
Yeah, because it's not as mainstream. I mean, it's somewhat mainstream and people know what it is when you say it, but it's not so mainstream that it's on Saturday afternoon. Television, broadcast television or anything. They're not showing the disc golf tournaments on regular broadcast stuff. That's interesting.
I have a face for fringe. That's what they say.
That's terrible. Don't say that, Jeff.
Yeah.
So you've got skateboarding, you got disc golf. Anything else in between, or?
The most recent thing is electric bikes. I've been riding for the last year. I bought one of those electric bikes, and I just really love it. As a bigger guy, you want to do a longer bike ride. You're not going to do it yourself. You need a little help. So a battery powered bike, you can do 15 miles, like nothing, and still, come back and you feel. I mean, you worked out. You definitely sweat, and you definitely work, but you get that little bit of assistance with the pedaling. It makes all the difference, and then all of a sudden you're flying through traffic at 20 miles an hour, just pedaling and crushing and having a good time, and it's also addicting.
Now let me ask you a few questions about electric bikes, because I'm very curious. So it really is, you still have to pedal the bike. It's not like it's not like it's a motorcycle kind of a situation, just electrified or something. You actually still have to do something. I mean, you could, I guess, but you'll kill your battery pretty quickly, I'm guessing.
Correct. Yeah. There's 3 modes. Basically, there's just pedaling. You can pedal just like a regular bike. You don't have to have any assistance on, and you probably turn the motor off when you're going downhill anyway and just coast and pedal. There's the pedal assist while you're pedaling. There's usually different stages of the assist. And like the first stage really just gives you the assistance that removes the weight of the bike. So like if the bike weighs 50 to 70 pounds, the motor will compensate for the weight of 50 to 7 pounds. So it just feels like you're pedaling yourself, like a normal bike. It really counteracts the weight of the bike. Like typically I'm in pedal assist 2 or 3, which gets you up over 10 miles an hour, 10 to 15 miles an hour. And that's fun. Like, that's great. You don't need to 4 and 5 will get you closer to 20. And that's typically what these are class 2 pedal bikes. So when you start researching this, you're going to learn this. The class 3, which electric bike, the one I have is called electric bike. You can unlock it to make it a class 3 bike, and that'll go up to 28 miles an hour.
Oh, God.
But I will tell you, as a 48-year-old guy, 20 miles is fast enough. You don't need. I was going to say, once
you get to 28, I mean, if you stop all of a sudden, you're probably going to hurt yourself at 28 miles an hour.
Yeah, no sudden stops.
Yeah, because that's the stops what gets you, not the going.
Yeah,
it's the stopping. Yeah. That's fascinating. So, I guess you have enough space and so forth that's more bike friendly around you to do that in, not like heavy traffic or anything.
Yeah, not heavy traffic. I do live in a city, but if I go out at Saturday morning at 7 a.m., I'm the only one out there till the coffee shop opens at 8.
Oh, there you
go. I can go through all the main downtown streets and I won't even see more than 5 cars probably.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I guess so is the idea behind it more conveyance, or are you into the ecological aspects of it, or what kind of make you gravitate towards it?
No, I don't fool myself. Electric bikes still are powered by coal plants and they're and natural gas. Like however they make energy, I don't know, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's clean because I'm not just taking it directly from the sun. So I don't think we have to. And batteries aren't great to make either,
Mhm.
and the end of the life of the batteries aren't great either. So I don't think there's a lot of green. We hear a lot of green stuff. I'm glad we can reuse it multiple times, maybe 10 years or so,
Mhm.
but we still have problems with what do we do when we dispose of that? How do we
Right.
get the energy to power it? It's not completely clean, but I got into it just to get active again. I was at my heaviest. I was almost 300 pounds
Mhm.
last June. I've lost like 40. I'm down to 260 right now.
Mhm.
I'd like to get to 225 as my goal. I kind of been hovering around this 260 for a while. But
Mhm.
if I can get to like 220, I'm so happy. I'm like the happiest guy in the world.
There you go. So really, it is a health thing in a way, and also it's a conveyance a little bit to get. I'm sure if you had one, I'm guessing that if you're going places that are close, you probably use it over a car.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But also just to get yourself moving around a little bit. That's fun. That's
Getting
interesting.
active was a big part of it because it immediately increases the range which you can ride a bike. Which
Mhm.
if you get one for no other reason, when you realize you can go to the next town and come back in the same day by yourself
Mhm.
on an electric bike that you would never even considered on a pedal bike, you're like, oh, okay, this is different. This increases my range. It increases the amount of activity I can get in a single day. Because you will read reports where people who ride e-bikes, they do ride longer
Mhm.
periods of time than people on just human powered pedal bikes.
Right. You
So your
don't wear
activity
yourself
level
out,
goes
I
up.
guess, as
Yeah.
fast. Yeah. Well, where I live, and we have all these folks. I live out in the country, and it started now in May. We have all these people, in the gear with the helmet that looks like they're in Star Wars because it's got and the tight clothes and everything, and they all come riding around in the country in the summertime.
Yeah, I don't associate with those.
Yeah. So and I mean, we're talking like packs of 5 and 10 people riding. So yeah, we have a lot of that around here. I don't think any of those have electric bikes. They're a little more,
Those are serious people.
into it. Yeah, a little. Yeah. Well, I don't want to say into it because it sounds like you're into it. It's just they're into it for a different reason. It's like competitive or something.
Yeah, I'm wearing cargo pants and a Gap shirt.
But yeah, that would be interesting. That would be interesting to know.
Highly recommend if you're ever on the fence about it. It's a 10 out of 10 purchase. Like it's worth every penny that you decide to spend on your electric bike. Totally worth it.
What's the range then? I mean, what's the price range on something like that?
The ones from it's electric bikes. It's electric without the E.
Mm-hmm.
You can get some that are like single fixed gear. Those are around $750 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
The one that I got is I think it was like 900 to 1,000 in that range.
Mm-hmm.
And they say the battery is a 60-mile range battery.
Yeah.
But in fairness, with my height and weight, if I get 30 miles out of it, that's pretty good.
Right.
So, you can at least get a day or two if you're going to do a long bike ride. Sometimes 3 days out of a single use,
a single charge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all the battery distance people came from Amway, and they just lie about everything.
Yeah. Yeah, the wattage is an MLM scheme.
Yeah, they're just like, 60 miles. Yeah, 60 miles. If you throw a baby on there and hit the button, they'll go 60 miles before it falls over. No, I mean, it's about the same as the people who tell you how long your laptop battery is going to last.
Yeah.
This will work for 36 hours if you don't actually use it.
Yeah.
But no, that's fascinating, though. I do find all those things very interesting, and I investigate a little bit every once in a while. And so, now you got me thinking about it. Now you got me thinking about this, Jeff.
That's right. That's what I also do in the spare time is I represent electricbikes.com. Use coupon code Jeff at checkout.
Oh, there you go. Well, you should tell me that. I would have put it on the screen. I can type it in.
No, that's just a joke.
Okay.
No,
I was going to ask you if you sold them because you're so knowledgeable and everything.
I will tell you that how many times people have asked me if I sold them because I will talk about electric bikes for a half an hour, because it really was a game changer. And it really, it's real. I promise you, if you're on the fence, it's worth every penny you invested in.
Cool.
100%.
So let's move to Pod Duty now. So Pod Duty is kind of the encompassing name that you do for your events, right? So if it's trivia or if it's Rise and Outshine or any of that, that's it's under the Pod Duty banner. Is that right?
Yeah. At first, think of that as a production company. We produce events for people. We produce our own shows, our own podcasts. They all fall under that production banner of Pod Duty.
So this is this your next venture then? Would you say this is your latest venture for your entrepreneurialism? Is the Pod Duty there?
Yeah. Like I said, as I found out, I was in love with production and the behind the scenes and what makes it work. That's kind of how I moved into this next stage that we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
And it all kind of, and it was this, finding a 6-letter domain name in the year 2020. It's hard. I think all the 4-letter domain names are gone. The 5s are like 80% gone.
Yeah.
And a 6-letter domain name is a great find. So putting this, it's a portmanteau of the word pod and the word duty. So pod, like a mission, like pod mission. This is my duty. This is my mission. But when you put them together, Pod Duty, everybody chuckles and hears the word duty,
right,
which is great because it's easy to remember Pod Duty, Poduty, Pod Duty.
Yeah, and it's been a few years, but patootie was a word that was used a bit.
Yeah,
a while back, so
and it should be fun. Like this is like, we were talking about DIY mindset and the fringe of counterculture, and that's what Pod Duty is. That's what podcasting is, video creation, that independence. It should be fun. It should be silly. You should enjoy doing it. And I think that name encompasses at least me. I think I'm a silly, goofy guy. So saying Pod Duty is fun, and then it's really fun when I hear other people like introduce me and they say Pod Duty because they realize they're saying duty, and then they get uncomfortable about that. And it's easy to and it's so easy to remember too.
That's true. It is. Now you're selling me on the name here.
Get electric bikes at Poduty.com.
That's right, Pod Duty.
We got it all. Shows and bikes.
Shows, bikes, skateboards, and frisbee golf. Disc golf. So when you came into Pod Duty, like you're sitting there, you're thinking about this, and you're like, Pod Duty's gonna be the production side of all this. Well, what was obviously we got the trivia and so forth, but was there any other aspects that obviously if somebody comes to you, you're say, yeah, I can help you produce something, obviously. But what was your kind of aim to produce? Have you not produced something that you started out with, you're like, I think we're going to do this, and you haven't done it yet?
Well, the one thing I'm really excited about as we talk about this new space that I'm getting into is charity and fundraising events, which I've done a couple, like I've shown up with my trivia show and been a part of an event or fundraiser. But now that I have a space with like a stage, I want to be able to go to anybody who's doing an event and produce a 90-minute show for them where they can sell tickets, they can sell raffles, they can do fundraisers, and at the same time they're not only doing it in real life like they would if they went to like a bingo hall or fireman's hall where they would have rented a space to do an event. Here's a space where we can do it not only for the people in attendance, but for anybody watching anywhere. So if it's for like a local volleyball team who needs to fundraise to go to states and they want to produce an event, well, their grandma maybe lives in Ohio or Florida for the winter and can't get to the show, but now they have an avenue where they can buy a ticket in Florida, watch the show, contribute in real time and comments on the side and financial contributions through donations. And they're able to facilitate this whole new concept of what is a live event? How can we reach more people with what we got? And I think this little niche that I'm going into of real-time event production that's interactive for not only the audience that's there, but for the audience around the world, I think there's something to all this. I don't know how all the pieces will go together, but there's something here.
So let's talk about your space then. So you got the space, and that's the picture behind you there, with your chairs and your stage and everything. And so how did this come about? You and I have talked a little bit about this because of other things that we've done, but give us the story of how you found this space particularly and how you kind of put this together.
Yeah, and whenever Blab was folding, right, in 2016, 17, I was like, well, that was so great. I can't recreate this anymore. And I started thinking of different concepts and how can I still do the show with people and how can I get in front of people? And the original concept was a portable theater and really questioning like what is a theater? And the first one I built, I have a picture of it somewhere. I built something I could fit in the backseat of my sedan. Mm-hmm. I could go anywhere, set it up, and within a minute I'd have, within half an hour I'd have a full production set up and I could run a show anywhere, anytime. Mm-hmm. And that concept was, it was great. I'm kind of limited by capacity. And as it evolved in around 2020, right before the pandemic, this concept of the infinite seat theater, mm-hmm. Why does a theater have to have walls? Why does a theater have to have capacity? And it doesn't. And that's kind of where this theater that you're looking at behind me, the capacity is 40 people. Mm-hmm. I can fit 40 people in 3 rows in front of a stage, and it's a very close and intimate setting, mm-hmm. but it's not the end all be all of capacity because I can do a virtual ticket at the same time I'm doing the real ticket. So this theater, you can watch it anywhere. You can actually go to the show mm-hmm. at the place, and if you want to go next door to the bar mm-hmm. and get a drink, you can pop up the program on your phone, walk over the bar and still get a drink and watch the show at the same time. So it's completely portable and immersive, whether you're there or not. And if you don't want to be there, you want to walk out, you can walk out and still watch it.
Yeah. The interesting, what reminds me of when you said that was, I don't know if you, and this goes back a little bit, but you ever see the people at the baseball stadium or the football stadium with their headphones in listening to the play-by-play on the radio?
Yeah.
But they're physically at the game.
Yeah. And it's always on like a 7 to 10 second delay.
Right. Yeah.
You're like, I already saw that.
Yeah. But they're doing it. And I mean, it happens more than you think. It's wild that if you're watching sports over the weekend, look for those people. You'll see them. They'll have their headphones in. They're probably listening to the game that they're watching in person. And I always thought that was, I'm like, why would they do that? But apparently that's a thing, So, and that's what you're talking about too. Is hey, you can do this. You can start here, go there, whatever, and it all works that way.
And if you're running late, you're not going to miss the start. That's always a thing too. Like, oh man, we're stuck in traffic. We're going to be 5 minutes late. Well, guess what? You can watch it in the car on your way there. Not mm-hmm. the driver, the other people in the car can watch it.
Although with your Tesla, maybe you can.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to, but yeah, you never know. We're working towards that. That'll be. It's going to take a little bit longer, but not too much. Actually, my daughter just sent me a picture of a self-driving car in California.
Okay.
In front of her.
Yeah.
And she pulled up beside it and took a picture with no one in the driver's seat. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, those are great. I think those are the Waymos.
Yeah, the Waymo. I think this one, I don't think it was Waymo. It was a different one, but they're doing tests out in California right now.
Yeah.
And so I mean, but this was in traffic. California, it wasn't on the highway. It was in the city. So anyway, off topic a little bit, but so so you got the theater. So I'm trying to imagine. So when I think of like those charity things and so forth, they do like the charity fashion show. They do like where they do these auctions and things like that. I mean, is there a spin on the charity aspect that you're gonna to make that's a little bit different, or are you is it gonna be pretty much kind of those kind of things or something else?
Well, you asked what haven't I produced yet that I'd like to produce, and that's on my radar. And the having interactive events, like some of the shows that you've been on, mm-hmm. the audience can participate with. So mm-hmm. in real time, I could send a poll to the audience, or we could do part of the segment could be trivia, and it could be trivia about the school or the players, or and people can vote on what they think the different answers are, or even vote for the MVP of the team or the team captain. So, putting that show together for that specific organization and figuring out what pieces will work for them and the interactive events and elements. We can certainly do the gift baskets and the raffles and the 50/50s and, do that all online and in real time. But we can also start to, finesse other events in there. Maybe it's a talent show with some of the team players, or like I said, the trivia with the audience and people playing from around the world. So, figuring out the right events for the right organization and just building them a nice 90-minute show that they can be proud of.
That's interesting. I just had a thought as you were talking about that actually goes back to earlier in our conversation where you were telling me about Blab. So
gets in your head.
You mentioned the, like the thumbs up and the applause and all that kind of stuff. For a charity event, wouldn't it be cool if you could have that, right? So have obviously various variations from applause to these other little kind of cool animation things, and somehow attach that to micropayments so that each time you do a applause, it's a penny.
Yeah.
And then, so if you have somebody there, yeah, exactly, they would be doing that. So I mean,
30 cents.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly. So then that way, it's not like you're throwing dollars out there, so that you can do stuff like that, because that's the fun aspect of doing it is throwing up a bunch of things at the appropriate time. And then obviously you'd have to put more than a penny into the account. So, but you could put $20 in an account basically, and through micropayments, you would dish out those payments to that charity as you were watching the event. Yeah. There you go,
That'd
Jeff.
Be great.
Yeah. Let's make this, Jeff.
I'm taking that one. Yeah.
I don't know how to do it, but we could fit. This is the idea.
Yeah.
But then you could have a lot of different animations. So you could have, ones that would cost a nickel and ones that would cost a dime, and make them more complicated and showy, as well as, kind of the thumbs up, party horn kind of a situation that would cost.
And me thinking like a marketer too, you at the end of the show, you have all that data on when people were tapping the micropayments.
Exactly.
You'll know what made a good show, what made people so excied that they donated money. And then what were the parts where nobody was donating money?
Right, yeah, exactly.
We'll cut those out of the next show, and we're just going to do 90 minutes of awards,
Because I could certainly see myself in an event, and I'm talking, your average person here doing something where, if you spent out $5, $10, it's great for the charity. It was fun for you. And, and then you'd have more, obviously, because you could do other aspects of it. But I think that would be so fun for people, because then it kind of gamifies the charity aspect of things.
Yeah, that one we'll have to figure out.
They kind of do it on Facebook with whatever they call it. I can't remember what they call it, but it's not quite exactly the same as that. So they do
with stickers. Send a sticker.
Yeah, it's a little more. I think it's a little more interactive and a little more fun for the participant. I can't remember what they call it, because I watched some Facebook Live things, and it's like, what do they call it, Super Chat or something like that. They have all these names, but anyway, where you can give like $5 or something. But that's just a one. It's a one-off kind of thing. It's not. I mean, it's not. It's not terribly fun for the person giving. Yeah. Where this would be something that would be fun for the person. And then, there you go. I just already come up with something else for you, Jeff. It'd be a challenge. So you'd throw a challenge out there, and maybe it's some kind of like goofy cartoony thing where these two things battle out, and you have to hit the button faster than the other person. And then both of them are donating money. And then somebody at 30 seconds, you got to see who hits it the most in order to win the giving battle, as it were. Anyway,
you have like a rock'em sock'em robots.
Yeah, exactly.
And every time you throw a punch, it's 50 cents.
Right, exactly. That would be fun. And then you'd see it, you'd see it in the corner or something. And then the block would pop up, and that's the guy who lost.
Yeah.
But you can come up with it, rather than, getting in with Milton Bradley or whoever on that. You have to come up with something else.
Or I like Rock and Sock and Robots. Every time you throw a punch, it's 50 cents. The loser is the one who has to cover the bets.
Oh,
So
both
you'll throw-
sides.
yeah.
Ah,
Yeah. That way, no one's going to want to lose.
that's right.
So they'll keep
it
throwing
pu- it
punches,
pushes
and then
farther.
that money keeps going and going and going.
Wow, that's a good one. That's a good one. Now we just got to find somebody to program all this now, Joe.
Yeah.
So that's great. So then so far, I mean, is there other stuff besides the trivia and so forth that you've done, like one-offs of, that you'd want to talk about that went over really well?
This past winter, we did the what do we call it? The holiday market. We did a live stream where it was a 3-hour stream, and it's something new concept. Haven't tried it before. Maria Daniels approached me. He's like, "Hey, I have this idea for a holiday market, an online holiday market." And we did a 3-hour stream. I think every 20 minutes we brought in a new vendor, and for 3 hours we showcased 9 to 10 vendors who came in and shared what they do, their art and their crafts, and the candles that they make.
More visual Etsy, like a live.
Like a QVC for crafters. And that was a lot of fun. It was the first year we did it. We did it on a pretty short notice, like a 2-week. We turned it around in like 2 weeks. But it's something I want to do again. And now with the theater space of using local artists, they can come to the space and do full demonstrations. I can get the overhead camera pointing down and see the box as they unbox it and see their product and everything.
Yeah. I mean, if you had two areas set up, you could switch between the two areas so that you just keep it going without any kind of interruptions, right? You just swing from one to the other. That's wild. So if you had to say what's the ultimate, like you want to produce these things, if you could produce anything, right, what would be your ultimate production in your mind right now?
I mean, I do like the showcases, and I like emerging talent. So I do like bringing people into this who never considered doing their podcast live. Those are my favorite people to work with, because they don't know, maybe they've been recording in their basement or in an office in their house, and they don't know how that would adapt to a stage. So that's fun to figure out the pieces. I also, my dream is conferences, like small event conferences or one-day conferences that I can really put together like the best in an industry and just let them showcase their talents and their skills, for a couple hours and just deliver like an unbelievable amount of value. So like that's down the road, but I have like no overhead, and I can produce a conference, I think, on the level with some of the conferences you've been to, in person and virtual. And I think I can compete with and do something that's pretty remarkable, that it's educational, it's entertaining, there's value there, and it's a good time.
Oh, that's cool. So have you got connected with any groups for conferences? So like there's always a group for something, right? So like there's the beach metal detector club, and they have some kind of conference every year, I'm sure. I don't know for sure. I'm just saying that because I watched the show yesterday about metal detectors. But anyway, have you connected with any groups?
Macrame cowboy pants, right?
Yeah, that's right. Have you connected with any groups yet to try out the concept?
There's a couple people I've talked to in the automotive industry, like the automotive marketing side of automotive. There is a potential for an automotive marketing conference. Well, it's not the most exciting topic, okay, but there is there's 8,000 auto dealers in the country, and a lot of those now have marketing directors and marketing managers. So I think there's a niche there. I think there's a market that's underserved. There's probably a market that doesn't go to the major conferences that wouldn't mind, maybe their first conference is a live streaming event from Chicago or Phoenix.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking about, and I know this is going to sound weird coming off of that, but there were so many fraternal type organizations back in like the 50s to 70s, like, the Lions and the Moose and the, this and that. And they're kind of dying off, right? Yeah. And those were typically, a lot of those were really business related organizations, even though they were, you get together and drink and what have you. But and they also did charity work. but it seems like we're due for a 21st century version of stuff like that. And this could be, something to propel some of those forward in the sense that, it's a group of like-minded individuals who are trying to, they want to have fun, but then they also have, an agenda beyond the fun to do. Like the Lions Club does all the glasses, and they still do it. They collect glasses and then take them apart and redistribute them and fix them and things for kids who can't afford. And so for something like that, and you would think, what always amazes me, and this, I don't want this to sound negative in any way because it's not, but so you and I are a little bit older, right? So we are bridging the gap from the older generation of what I'm talking about into the now, but the folks who are a little bit younger, it seems that there is a lot of people who seem to have a lot of empathy and charitable thoughts, right? But it's not organized generally, right? So there is, things that are happening and so forth, but it's not organized in a way that it is really effective.
Yeah, when you said those organizations from the 50s and 60s, I was thinking fraternities, and we could do live hazing. live hazing could be an issue. But I am so there will be events that will start to rotate like once a month. Mm-hmm. And one of the first ones I'm thinking about is just a creator meetup, content creators, podcasters, once a month, maybe on a Monday. We will, we'll have maybe it's the second Monday of every month. Mm-hmm. If you podcast, if you're a creator, if you're in the area, great, come by. We're going to have a meetup in the building, but we're going to live stream. And my goal was to maybe have like 3 tips that we found out in the last month that changed my business or changed the way I produce content, or just like tactics and tips and strategies that I never would thought of, and share those just to the group. So if you're there, if you're part of it, once a month, we'll do a mastermind of creators and marketers, and we'll do that every month. That's like what you're saying is exactly what I'm thinking too. And I don't want to do them every week because then I think that you get burned out. But I think we'll have these monthly events, these monthly showcases that'll just start to pop on the calendar. Maybe it's a women in podcasting, where a space for where our women friends in podcasting can go feel safe without being bombarded and trying to get picked up all the time. We'll have a special like women's only night for podcasters and creators to get together in a safe space and just share ideas and talk amongst themselves and put that together. Same type of thing that we would do monthly with the Creator Mastermind.
That sounds fantastic. Put me on the list. I won't be there live.
You're always on.
I won't be there live, but Well, Jeff, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. Everybody go to Paduty. Or just say it and make yourself giggle, and check out everything that Jeff is doing. It's a great time. Miles and I had a great time doing trivia and also Rise and Outshine, and everything you're doing, Jeff, is fantastic. Any real quick parting thoughts before we take off?
No, if you've been on the fence and you've been thinking like, should I create something? Should I do it? And you haven't done it yet, just do it. You'll always regret not doing it. And it took me a long time to do this. I used to hate my voice. I used to not want to see myself on camera. And I held off doing anything because I was afraid and didn't want to do it. If you're on the fence like I was, just do it. You won't regret one day of it. You'll have a great time and you'll meet some amazing people. Oh, fantastic. Although, you don't see me. I'm a little cartoon character, but I have no idea I couldn't pick you out of a lineup, which is maybe a good thing. There you go. Exactly. Maybe I look like I belong in a lineup. But anyway. Yeah. I will let you go, Jeff. Thank you very much. And everybody go to Paduty and check it all out. Till next time. Dun, 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 dun.